Hi, I'm Ailbhe McDonagh. In this video, we'll be talking about changing bow direction. If you saw my cello basics tutorials, we talked a little bit about how to approach the bow changes. Now we're going to go a little more deep into the idea of how to get a very smooth, controlled bow change. When you play a note, we want to think about the idea that the bow itself has different weight points. So we discussed this before, the balance point of the bow. So you can see how much heavier this end of the bow is compared to the tip. So when you start off, the bow naturally does the work for you. You just keep your weight over the bow and you sink into the string. Now at about this point, if I don't change anything, the sound will appear like this. And you can hear the actual clarity is not as good anymore. So we need to do something called pronation, which we've talked about a little bit. So in order to pronate, we want to turn the fingers on the hand over onto the first finger, and we also lift the elbow a little bit also. Not very much, but you can see that lift. So this matters in our bow change so that we have more contact towards the end of the bow. And then we have to take care of the contact when we come into the heel, that it's not too heavy. So you can see it's a delicate balance here. So let's have a look. Pronate as we open out the elbow. Now. So before we used to think about a little smile or a banana with the weight as we came to the bow change. So here, I don't want so much of the curved part of the banana. So let's imagine we're getting really, really close, more rectangular as the sound. Firm fingers, turn. So you can see my fingers go from here to here. So sort of like a brushing motion. If you had one of these brushes where you're brushing the floor and you can see the bristles are doing this sort of a motion. So have a look at this. Firm contact point. And less banana, more finger control. Really into the string. Think about the motion. So you can see my fingers now are on top of the first finger. Turn it around. There we go. And now the tips of the fingers are going to go to my right. And now I'm going to lighten the bow and go to my left of the fingers. And to the right. And then to the left. So it's a very, very subtle change. You don't have to go out the whole bow to practice this. Right, left, right. So when I say right, I mean the direction that the bottom, the pads of the fingers are going on the bow. So before we talked about lifting fingers 2 and 3, if we're still thinking about cello fingering here. So you can see my first finger and my pinky and my thumb, they're all attached on the bow. So we can practice. Pronate over to the first finger, less banana, and then supinate, so turning over onto the pinky, turning onto the first finger, turning onto the pinky. This really helps your bow changes. Also, we're going to practice this time with fingers 2 and 4 up in the air. So we've got 1 and 3 and thumb. This is kind of hard to hold, but once you're on the string, it's okay. So here we are. Turn, pronate, turn. So a slower, more controlled turn. And if you can, have a look at your contact point and make sure at the turn that there's no change. Have a look. Turn. So much better than something like that kind of wobbling motion. We want to get it as close as we can to the contact point, back and forth. Okay, so then we're also going to try, this is a very hard one, so we're going to have fingers 2 and 4 and thumb on the bow. I can barely hold anything, which just shows us how important the first finger is in the bow. So very hard on the hand, so make sure you start with the bow holding up the weight, as we always should do. And then the final one is to hold up fingers 3 and 4. So actually, you can see how important 1 and 2 are, along with the pinky. Each finger has its own little job in the bow change or the change of bow direction. So the reason we do all of these exercises is to teach the hand what the job of each finger is when it comes to changing the bow. So you'll see as you practice exercises with the finger off the bow what the job is and which finger is the most important for what part of the bow. So you can see that the pinky and the first finger have a huge job in turning the bow. As we get into an advanced bow change, eventually you will feel a little transfer of weight between all 4 fingers. So all these exercises will really help to develop that. Good luck. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below.